watching humans grow more and more powerful. Right? Human culture, human society, human technology. If it had godlike power.
We're talking about an exponentially growing power that where we fear that we may wake up one day and the world is ending.
When the AI makes a mistake, it's much higher stakes.
We're already androids, Already. When you're on Twitter, you're an android. I played around a lot with large language models. I have some people on my team who built one. Actually, we built one out of my writing that I've been using to help me with my new book. So if I come across biblical passages that I can't understand, I can use that system to give me a first pass approximation, and it works quite nicely.
I had nothing to do with it. Somebody made up a picture of me dressed like the Pope, and they put it out on the internet. That's not me that did it. I have no idea where it came from. Maybe it was AI. The Catholics loved it.
The AI will be able to do everything. I don't know if that makes people comfortable or uncomfortable.
So we don't want the Chinese to get the perfect self-improving AI before we do. We don't want them to get the lethal autonomous drones or the robot army before we do. And this is going in a very dystopian direction, but I used to think that we didn't want to militarize and weaponize the most powerful AI as we acquired it. I thought that autonomous weapons was almost definitionally a bad thing. I don't think I believe that anymore. I think it's conceivable that we would build weapons that are autonomous, that are better than humans at making judgments with respect to when to use lethal force, which is to say their error rate will be acceptable to us, even though they'll have one.
But there are clearly different views about AI safety systems.
I already have a large language model that's very good at dream analysis. Everything's computer.
We will have for the first time something that is smarter than the smartest human.
A picture of me dressed like the Pope, and they put it out on the internet. Maybe it was AI.
Godlike power. We don't want them to get the lethal autonomous drones or the robot army before we do. Godlike power.
Everything's computer.
Hello, lovely listeners. Today I bring you a very special and relevant episode on the topic of AI and fascism. Keep in mind, it was recorded a few weeks ago. The new recent episode of my Woking Up series took up quite a significant chunk of my time, as those ones tend to do. If you enjoy a good Sam Harris dunking, then sign up via patreon.com/nice mangoes to help support the show and to access the extended episode today. Or, you can check out the public release version to sample what's on offer. I mean, how many times can this guy make excuses for literal baby killing and have people still blindly support him? I don't fucking know, but my faith in humanity is at an all-time low nowadays. Of course, my listeners are the best humans out there, that goes without saying, and obviously, I'm not biased. I meditate, so how could I possibly be biased? Kidding, I don't do that, and I'm happy to acknowledge my biases. I would, however, like to thank all the wonderful listeners of the show who have contributed to the ongoing fundraiser that I mentioned last episode. You've helped us get all the way to 80% of the goal. That mammoth Douglas Murray episode I promised feels closer than ever. And if you'd like to help us get over the final hurdle, just the last 20%, please know that every little bit counts. I will leave the link in the show notes. So if you'd like, you can head on over there and contribute to the fundraiser, pretty please. We are so close. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get on to more episode-related matters. Wow, we are living in an incredibly fast-paced world nowadays. Things are constantly changing, but one thing that hasn't really changed is the love that fascists seem to have for this phony, soulless, humanless, awful, theft-based method of generating images and language even. But they can now whip up visual aids to help them fearmonger about minorities in an instant. Just a perfect addition to their fact-free way of life. No talent required on their part, just how they like it. And if you've been paying attention, you'll definitely see patterns in the kinds of people pushing this, using it. But yeah, this conversation, despite being from a few weeks ago, remains ever relevant in our increasingly techno-fash political climate. And since this chat, we've seen AI appreciator Keir Starmer of the UK Labour Party shift further and further right, give an anti-immigrant speech that would seem like a perfect fit coming out of like Douglas Murray's or Nigel Farage's mouth. But these are supposedly our non-far right options. You know, people like Starmer. Here in Canada, we've seen Mark Carney eliminate the position for the Minister of Diversity, Inclusion, and Persons with Disabilities, but create a brand new position for an AI minister. Priorities, eh? I mean, this has understandably upset a lot of people, especially in these cruel, Trumpian, anti-diversity times. It's such a weird signal to send out. But yeah, both our leaders and fascists are scrambling to get in bed with AI. It's funny that. Let's see, what else has happened since this conversation was recorded? Oh, yes, Grok very helpfully demonstrated the dangers of AI and disinformation quite well recently by having a full-on quote-unquote white genocide meltdown, completely randomly inserting this white nationalist conspiracy theory into responses it was giving people about totally unrelated subjects, like totally unrelated. So, as usual, great fashy times over on X.com. Then, and this is less related to AI, but still notable, I thought I'd mention it. Steven Pinker has been out there trying to revive race science again. Jordan Peterson has embarrassed himself on a Jubilee episode. Couldn't even hold his own, surrounded by young, edgy atheists. And the world, of course, grows increasingly more fascist as Israel unleashes horror upon horror on trapped and starved Palestinians with its AI-powered weapons of mass slaughter. And of course, throughout all this, AI continues to be forced onto us from all directions. So let's get on with the episode. I won't be paywalling this one because I do think it's an important PSA, but down the pipeline we've got several other excellent conversations coming up. In the Global Far Right series, we've got Netherlands and Finland, and then a conversation about whether genocide studies can survive a genocide with the associate editor of Jewish Currents. So subscribe via Patreon today if you think you'll enjoy those episodes. And remember, if you think you'll enjoy a Douglas Murray one, then help us get to the fundraising goal. And now, the episode. Welcome to the Polite Conversations podcast, where every episode is focused on civility, decorum, and good manners. And I'm your lovable, non-controversial host, Ina. If you know me, you know I definitely don't like to ruffle any feathers at all. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Polite Conversations. Today, I've got writer and podcaster Gareth Watkins here with me to talk about AI and the new aesthetics of fascism. Welcome, Gareth. How's it going?
Good. Hi. Nice to be here. I like the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Well, you wrote this really fascinating article that's getting a bunch of attention. I hear you've been on a bunch of podcasts about this.
This is my third.
Wow. So, right. I mean, it's quite a good time to talk about how AI is the new aesthetic of fascism, pretty much. Like, if you could sum that title up in like one image in the past month, what would you pick?
Oh, God. Everyone always asks me for like the one image, and they tend to give a bigger time frame. But the one at the last month that really hit me was actually about a week ago now. It was J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. It was tweeted by the White House, their own Twitter account, and it was using that Studio Ghibli filter.
Oh, yeah.
That a lot of people are really going nuts for right now. And a Studio Ghibli filter is not good for someone with J.D. Vance's like bone structure or lack of, because it makes everyone look a bit puffy, and he already looks like he's been down a well for the last month. So it's just really bad for him. It does not make him look good. The caption was something about like, if you come to this country illegally, you're going to get out. And that's been the one that really hit me from last month. But there have been so many that have just like, every time there's like a big, really stupid image, the article just goes viral again. Like that, the one about the AI video of what Gaza will look like one day.
Right, with
that one?
The one that Trump tweeted or Truth Socialed, where him and Netanyahu are laying on beach chairs. Yeah,
then there's a giant golden statue of him. There's belly dancers who had beards for some reason.
Right, the Hamas belly dancers.
That's how they're going to reform Hamas. They're just going to teach them belly dancing. That'll chill them out.
But I thought they hated drag. Like, the one thing about the right is like they are so inconsistent.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But I would say that the one that stood out for me is the IDF Studio Ghibli photo. Like they had to. Oh God, yes. They had to jump in on the trend.
Yeah, everyone is like it's all over LinkedIn right now. That Ghibli trend, and my take on it is that there's like obviously there's a lot of like normie like companies like. Studio Ghibli find them set their photos of their staff and stuff, but I think like the reason they're doing Ghibli specifically is because of how Hayao Miyazaki was so against AI when he saw it years ago. There's that famous like video of him being shown an AI image generated and by these like young, I think, college students, and he calls it like an insult to life itself. He is utterly against it. He doesn't like mince words about it, or he hates it. And I think that's why they're doing it, just to like get back at him.
Yeah, because the cruelty, right? That's the point.
I've heard that, yes. So people have been saying that the cruelty is the point.
Yeah, and also his like history with in the early 2000s refusing to come and get an award in the States. Because he opposed the Iraq War.
Yeah, he was he hated Harvey Weinstein from like the moment he first saw him, and I think he mailed him a samurai sword, like as a threat. So yeah, he's obviously a good person, and that annoys a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing the Vance and Trump one that you mentioned in the beginning, but so that they're just like standing there next to each other and threatening.
Yeah, they seem to be in like some sort of like I don't know what the American things are called, like the American Parliament, with like the big seal of the United States behind them.
Right.
In some sort of like professional context for politicians, and they're looking like quite angry and quite menacing, as much as you can do with a Studio Ghibli filter.
Right. Yeah. It's just such an odd choice or actually it makes a lot of sense. A bit of both, I'd say. But yeah, they also had that other one of this crying woman being deported.
Oh God, yes, yeah. God, there have been so many. I'm forgetting like 90% of them. It's just.
And that was tweeted from the White House too. Like this crying woman. It's based on a real woman. They clearly put her through that filter, and she's crying and being deported.
Yeah. And
she's got like handcuffs around her wrists, and it's just so obscene. And they also did this deportation ASMR video.
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how you come back from this stuff. Like, if I was conservative, I would be. There are conservatives who are like on the fence right now. People like David Brooks have written things about this isn't the conservative movement I joined in the 80s. Sure. And there was a British politician, a Conservative Party member who defected to the Liberal Democrat Party, which is like the equivalent of like, I don't know, the Green Party in the US.
So it's like more left than Labour?
Not really, actually. It's on certain issues, it's a very odd. There's no real equivalent in the US political scene of the Liberal Democrats. They're a really odd party. They're not a leftist party at all. They're kind of technocrats. I guess you'd call them. They believe in like putting up the price of plastic bags in grocery stores so people use less of them. Those kind of like policy prescriptions. Those kind. No one votes for them. They're utter oddity.
My only memory of that party being mentioned is when Maajid Nawaz was running for them. Are you familiar with Maajid Nawaz?
The leader of the Liberal Democrats could walk into my apartment right now and set her on fire. I wouldn't know who it was.
Okay.
I haven't known who a single Liberal Democrat politician is for the last 10 years.
I don't think he actually won, so he never actually made it into the party. But he's like one of these grifters that hung around the atheist scene a lot and used his like Muslimness to legitimize their anti-immigrant views, and he co-wrote a book with Sam Harris.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then he completely went off the deep end during COVID.
Many such cases.
Yeah. So that is Maajid. He used to be an LBC host, radio host as well.
Okay. Yeah, I know LBC very well from their how badly they've damaged British politics over the last 4 or 5 years, especially during COVID. They really platformed some absolute monsters during COVID and really set back. I mean, like, causally, they probably have a fair bit of blood on their hands from their COVID coverage.
Jeez.
And although they also have some, like, moderately liberal hosts on there as well. But liberal as in within the Overton window of British politics, which is a bizarre thing where liberals also hate trans people and immigrants.
Right, yep. Yes. That's kind of like where the US Democrats are at too, sort of.
Yeah, they're getting there, aren't they? They're definitely they're on their way. I'm hoping, and this may be a forlorn hope here, but I'm hoping that the Trump thing is so bad that they have to go the other way. There's no choice.
That is something I'm hoping for too.
Yeah, but
yeah, to get back to the AI topic though, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you describe right-wing culture generally as being like just taken over by AI slop?
Sure. So, I mean, first thing, this idea of AI being the new aesthetic of fascism, it's not an original idea to me at all. I don't want to claim that I invented this idea. I initially pitched this story almost a year ago. I was very lucky to accidentally come across one of the editors of New Socialist magazine, and they liked the idea when I kind of pitched it to them on Blue Sky. And so it's something people have been saying for a fairly long time. I can't find the original person who made this observation, but it's something people have been noticing a lot. And I think the only thing I wanted to do with this particular article was to, I guess, formalize it, take it from being like something that people just tweet about to something that has a solid argument behind it and lots of nice citations. So, yeah, in the last, I'd say about 3 years, I mean, technically we can go back further, because the AI boom of the last, well, I should recall it the LLM boom, because it's not, AI has been around for absolutely centuries. And
Centuries?
The concept of artificial intelligence is old. That's that's almost 18th, 19th century.
Right.
Like it predates computers. What's her name? Ada Lovelace was the person who invented computational logic and the first computer program about 150 years before the first computer. Yeah, some of the earliest stuff was like, oh, we can make something think, therefore can we make a thinking machine, or can we make an artificial person? And incidentally, one of her friends also wrote a little book called Frankenstein.
Oh, that's interesting. I would never have even thought of Frankenstein as AI, but this tangent now, but the original book is not what, I don't know if you read the book, the actual book, but it's not what people think it actually is, based on like the Hollywood thing where Frankenstein is like a corpse that's been stitched together and bolts in his neck. The Frankenstein in the book is a homunculus. He's like an artificial person made to come to life. He is an artificial intelligence. He's what Sam Altman and people are talking about when they are talking about AGI, this advanced or artificial general intelligence, like an AI that will just talk to you like HAL 9000. Yeah, I mean, you can probably trace the whole idea of it back to Frankenstein, back to Mary Shelley being bored of her horrible husband on a lake in Geneva. But where the right wing come into it, it's sort of the turn which we saw not long ago, like within our lifetimes, I mean, within like probably the last decade almost, of increased right wing interest in Silicon Valley. And we saw that very heavily in crypto. Crypto. There's plenty of articles out there saying crypto is the currency of fascism, because it literally was. All the major like neo-Nazi fascist groups use crypto. All the big right-wing influencers get paid in crypto. It is their currency. Right, because they want their kind of shut out of regular payment systems and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to pay, what's his name? Nick Fuentes, then you got to use crypto, like Monero, I think, not even Bitcoin. And then you had the general shift in Silicon Valley itself, where people very connected to the atheist scene, it somehow coincidentally, when that morphed into rationalism, when they started getting into the Silicon Valley scene, that kind of moved the trajectory of the politics of Silicon Valley rightwards. There are a dozen books written about this subject, and I'm very much glossing it here. Yeah. Probably the best one is A Neo-Reaction of Basilisk by Elizabeth Sandifer. Really good book on this subject. Right. And can you just briefly sum up what that is for the audience? Because it's very absurd, just that theory, that basilisk thing. Okay, yeah, this is going to like reduce everyone's IQ by about 10 points to hear it. So, a fellow named Eliza Yurkowsky is a minor Silicon Valley person. He is a small-time programmer, not into any like
big startups or anything. And the story goes that his brother dies and he gets kind of radicalized by that. That may not be the case in terms of timelines, but he starts a blog called Less Wrong. And that's kind of coming out of the atheist scene. It's kind of just after, your big... the three horsemen of atheism have made
Four horsemen, yeah.
Four horsemen. But so that's kind of extending the ideas of the new atheists even further, and really emphasizing rationality and overcoming biases. Like, if you were to hear the pitch of it, it would sound very sensible. It's about like becoming a more rational person, identifying your biases that cause irrational thought, and also the effective altruism came out of this scene.
Yeah.
And effective altruism is a lovely idea. If you have a lot of money and you want to invest in charity, what's the best way to do it? That sounds like a wonderful idea. but it keeps mutating. And,
it turns into eugenics sometimes.
Oh boy, does it. Yeah, it gets really, really weird, really, really fast. So on the Less Wrong blog, it's kind of like an open source forum and blog for lots of people. And one of the contributors to that blog, so not Eliza himself, but someone else, I forget their name, I think they just go by a pseudonym, comes up with a kind of thought experiment where he says, say... in 20 years from now, we invent a AI superintelligence. So not just HAL 9000, but something that is so smart that it can solve all problems. Like, it can instantly balance the budget. It can cure world hunger, cure cancer, everything. It's basically God. It's just that smart. It can do anything. It's omnipotent and omniscient. So creating that thing, which he calls the basilisk, would be the ultimate good act that you could do, because it saves everyone's life. It resurrects the dead. It's the ultimate good thing you can do. Therefore, preventing it from coming into existence is the ultimate bad thing to do. That's like being a million Hitlers at once. Therefore, if you are not right now contributing towards the eventual creation of the basilisk, then when the basilisk is actually online, maybe 20, 30, 100 years from now, what it's going to do is going to create a digital copy of you and put it in like a digital hell, like the Matrix, but you get tortured for eternity. Therefore, if you're not doing the maximum amount of stuff to contribute to this, you will eventually be tortured in digital hell. Well, not you, your digital copy. So you'll be fine, but your digital copy will end up in hell. And part of the Less Wrong, part of their dogma is that digital copies of you are you. That there's no difference between a perfect digital copy and yourself. Even though that really obviously is, because a copy is not you. You don't share their experiences. But no one apparently points that out. And this idea apparently caused multiple suicides.
What?
Apparently. This may be these people on forums just gassing themselves up, but apparently people were so terrified of this idea that they killed themselves or became horribly depressed. And Eliza Yudkowsky ended up declaring it a cognito hazard, as in a thought that is so terrifying that we cannot think it. It contributed to the Zizians. I don't know if you know those guys.
I've heard of it, but I can't say I know too much.
Probably want to have entire podcasts devoted to the Zizians. They're because I mean they do have a genealogy with the New Atheist movement, which is so crazy about it, because New Atheists Less Wrong to the Zizians, and the Zizians are a cult of mainly trans computer programmers. They're linked to about 6 murders at the moment.
What? Wow.
Yeah, multiple murders. Usually samurai sword-based murders. A shooting of a I think like a federal marshal, multiple suicides and fake deaths. They're kind of like almost like Manson, like cult.
So, so this basilisk idea is also not something that's so obscure that no one's really heard of it. It's an idea held by like Elon Musk and Grimes.
Yeah, that's how they got together. They made a joke about that, and they like hit it off based on a joke about this Rocco's Basilisk thing. It's in video games. It's in like it's a kind of underground to overground idea at the moment. Very few people take it seriously, apart from like Zizians and very odd people. But there is very good reason to believe that Sam Altman, a lot of the OpenAI guys, they believe this stuff, or at least are in the kind of milieu of people who talk about this stuff seriously. I mean, again, there's a genealogy from the New Atheists to Less Wrong to OpenAI. It's
really great movement, that New Atheism.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Richard Dawkins has a lot to answer for.
Yeah, and Sam Harris. I mean, Sam pushed the effective altruist stuff quite a lot on his podcast until the Sam Bankman-Fried thing.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to Sam for a few months now because I can only take him in small doses.
Yeah,
so
he is.
I don't know how much he's distanced or not distanced in the most recent stuff that he's put out.
Yeah, I can see why after the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff, he would a lot of people did distance themselves from the Less Wrong and effective altruism stuff, but AI has kind of reinserted it in a different way,
right?
And now you've kind of got a cover for believing in that, because it's like the new amazing thing that everyone's invested in, and all companies are doing it now. And again, there's just like this genealogy going back to the New Atheists now, and it's there's probably like a good chunk of the essay I wrote that could have looked at how the New Atheist movement has ended up being sort of the inspiration behind why AI has moved so far to the right so quickly.
Right. Yeah, that would be a good essay.
Yeah, that's maybe one I'll end up having to write. But yeah, I think coming out of that and having that in its bloodstream has accelerated, but not forced that to happen. I think it would happen anyway because of just the nature of AI and where it is. But it definitely it poured gasoline on the fire, I think.
Yeah, and now that you say that, I'm thinking back to like Sam Harris episodes that he's done with like the Coinbase guy, and like airing his complaints about wokeness, and there was definitely like a strong anti-woke streak. Like Sam would always talk about how there are these high-powered CEOs that are so afraid to speak the truth about how against wokeness they are, and he just wishes they would come out and say it. And now that they are, I don't think even he's fully on board with this level of destruction of the US. But yeah, the seeds were always there. Yeah, so this weird thought experiment is taken seriously by some people in significant power and with a lot of money.
Yeah. Elon Musk being the most powerful, most moneyed of them. But I don't know exactly how much it figures into his like thinking. I know he is very interested in the kind of larger, less wrong ideas of like making friendly AI, which is one of Yudkowsky's terms, which is AI that doesn't end up like doing the kind of Skynet kind of thing. That's something that Elon Musk is very, very interested in, and something that Sam Altman is hugely, hugely interested in, is kind of always mentioning it, never like citing the Less Wrong crowd, because that would kind of send people down rabbit holes, and probably get a lot of journalists calling people like me to give comments about stuff. But yeah, they never cite it, but they kind of presented as their own original thoughts, when actually there is a very long lineage of the combination of AI doomerism and far-right ideology and a lot of eugenics stuff in there as well. There's a ton of, like, they really want to do some eugenics as well. And they have a very, very set hierarchy of the races.
Yeah, I mean, that's also been a strong theme in the new atheist scene, right? They fought to rehabilitate Charles Murray and bring back race science tooth and nail, and try to have it viewed as reasonable, rational, not pseudoscience.
And it's so bizarre that these people are thinking in like these sci-fi terms about godlike superintelligences that are going to arrive in our lifetimes, but then it's also really important how much dermal melanin a person has or what shape their skull is. It doesn't make any sense. The gap between like me and a person who's black is minuscule compared to me and an AI superintelligence. It's not something to be thinking about when you're thinking about these bigger things. But they can't really help themselves. Kind of one of the things I really try to emphasize in the essay, and a lot of the other essays I've written since, is there's a personality type who's drawn to these ideas. And sometimes they'll be drawn to the eugenic side, or they'll be drawn to the evangelical Christian side, or they'll be drawn to the tech side. But it all comes back to kind of being just an asshole, just being antisocial or sociophobic is a proper term for it.
Right. Some people are saying the cruelty is the point.
They are, yeah. And it's that is a very true statement, and unfortunately it gets used as a kind of cliche these days. So I think it's something to kind of like, it's not an end point for your thinking. It should be a start for how to think about the right. Yeah. As opposed to a way of just dismissing them, because it when you follow that chain of logic, it gets very interesting very quickly, and it explains a lot. It's a kind of skeleton key instead of like a full stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you just look across the board of all this techno-fash stuff, like just the AI thumbnails from the worst like right-wing podcast bros, and I've been like paying attention to what podcasts actually use AI in their thumbnails, and it's been quite a telling pattern. It usually isn't like leftist content creators. So
yeah, I've seen it used nowhere in any like leftist space at all. Like the UK's Labour Party did put out a and they are not leftist for like the last 30,
I wanted to ask
years,
you
obviously.
if you thought that.
No, not at all. God. One of the things I argue in the piece is just consistency, logic, just basic things like that most people take for granted is just not really there on the right anymore. They can literally do a Nazi salute, then call someone anti-Semitic. Yeah. And they don't see that as a lie, or that they don't see it as performative that they're doing that. They will 100% go along with it. They're operating on kind of a new way of seeing the world.
Like a not real way.
Yeah, I mean, a way is utterly opposed to things like what I was talking about earlier with less wrong. This like super rational, overcoming your biases kind of way of looking at the world. That has somehow mutated into this postmodern, almost insane way of looking at the world, where you can hold two opposing thoughts at the same time.
Yet they hate postmodernism.
Yeah, and yet they're the most postmodern people in existence. They are exactly what all the postmodern philosophers were talking about.
Right, and they hate victimhood culture on the left, so-called, right? They say that the left is always talking about how they're oppressed and blah, blah, blah. Yet you will never see, like, bigger victims than the right.
Yeah, and Elon Musk was crying the other day about people, like, spray painting Tesla dealerships. It's...
And also, like, he talked about Waltz holding his stock prices tanking, like, and he's it's so cruel. Like, what a jerk! Who gets joy out of someone's, like, stocks crashing? And it's like, dude, you were, like, holding a chainsaw just recently, laughing about cutting people's livelihoods, right? It's
I know. They literally cannot see it. Like, we could, like, sit Elon Musk down and explain to him these two ideas are diametrically opposed. You cannot hold these two ideas at the same time.
Right. And again, that links to the AI stuff, right? They're always trying to be like these tough guys, and yet they also want to have these, like, cutesy photos and profile pictures and Studio Ghiblified images and anime avatars and...
Yeah, they couldn't see. I imagine Elon Musk has probably watched a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff, and yet he would not link the kind of, like, environmental and anti-authoritarian messages that are in those things to what he's doing. He wouldn't see that he is the bad guy in a Studio Ghibli film. Yeah,
he probably wouldn't even understand the message.
He's Lady Eboshi. He's he would absolutely be the bad guy in any of that, and yet he cannot see it at all, and he will never see it.
Right.
And it is truly bizarre to even just talk to, like, even not like the big names in the conservative movement or the reactionary or fascist movement right now. But I don't know if you saw that what he called Jubilee thing where they get one person.
Yeah, with Sam Cedar, or
Sam Cedar, and there was recently one with a doctor who
the anti-vax one.
Yeah, the anti-vax ones.
I never watched that, but I did see it come up on.
They're painful to watch. They are. You'll just become a absolute misanthrope from watching these things, because you'll realize you're in a world with people who believe who just don't make normal connections between information that would seem so obvious to, you'd think, everyone, but they will not make these connections. Like that hipster guy with the top knot who thought that, like, government departments pay taxes. Like, he didn't make that little tiny logical leap where, like, they're not going to, like, the government isn't like give you money then take it back. It'll be much easier for just to give you money. That's such an easy thing to realize. And he went
for the audience, I just want to say that this is the format of that channel, is that they get one person who's, I don't think it's always like a sensible person, is it? Like, I think sometimes they have, like, a bunch of leftists and a right. I think I've seen Ben Shapiro on that.
Yeah, I think Charlie Kirk has been on there as well.
Yeah, so it's like opposing views. Like, so one person surrounded by, like, 20 people with the opposite views, like, debating. Yeah, it's very frustrating.
It does not make the conservative movement look good, because when Charlie Kirk's on it, he is just being destroyed by these just random members of the public. Then when you have Sam Cedar, who is, not the greatest guy in the world here, but he's getting... these people are just, like, intellectual lightweights and have the most bizarre, almost insane, like, views that, like, in a normal society you would say it would be the equivalent of, like, believing in, like, gang stalking or
like that woman who said she, like, proudly said, like, that she was, like, a xenophobic nationalist or something.
Yeah. She and a lot of it is, like, it's basically trolling. I think the xenophobic nationalist lady was basically just trying to say the worst thing she can think of to say in the circumstances. And there is, again, this melding of cruelty and irrationalism where you can just say an awful thing. You can say you believe an awful thing just to get a rise out of people, but there's nothing behind it. There's no
there's no coherent
there's no coherence. There's no and there's no. Oh, actually, if you strip it down, I really do believe something that is sensible. I'm just, here to get a rise out of you or to make you react. Like the way, I know, a punk band or something would say, wear a swastika to, shock people and then talk about anarchy,
Which, looking back now...
it's not a good look, I know.
No. No. I mean, I probably wouldn't have understood the significance of it as a child seeing that. I'd just be like, oh yeah, symbols, whatever. But as an adult, thinking, no, that's not a good way to say fuck you to the system. No.
Yeah. I mean, for the Sex Pistols, it worked. I mean, as much as a manufactured pop band like the Sex Pistols could do politics. Mm-hmm. But it's something we've kind of moved on from as a culture. That kind of almost from the kind of 60s to 90s, there was that kind of you can say gross stuff, you could say a bunch of slurs, but you're ultimately a good person. You want to get across a good message.
Well, there was Marilyn Manson too, who had this M, a bunch of M's shaped in a swastika way.
Yeah, his early. I was a big Marilyn Manson guy when I was a kid.
Oh, me too, and I'm so embarrassed by it now.
I know, yeah, and for Antichrist Superstar and those first few albums, he seemed he's being shocking. He's pretending to be this imaginary fascist, but he's ultimately a good person. Like when you saw on Michael Moore.
Yeah, ironic, right?
It was all supposed to be taken ironically. But then it turns out, no, he is a horrible person.
Yeah, I think I've heard him described as a wolf in wolf's clothing, and that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it makes me so mad, right? That someone would be using alternative culture or dress or aesthetics to be exactly how people who dress like that are stereotyped as being, right? Evil creeps and abusers, and it's not a fair stereotype, but people like Manson do not help by being exactly that. And
it's the same with Frob and Gristle. They seem to be clever leftist art kids. Oh no, they're actually monsters as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. But
I don't want to go into Genesis origins stuff, but not a good person. But there was a time when you could use shock for ultimately good ends, and that has long gone.
Right, and I think just seeing the era of actual Nazis adopt ironic Nazism in internet culture, emojis and milk emojis and Pepe flags, and that is essentially just it turns into real Nazism, and you're you know what, there's people doing ironic fashy stuff is not really that ironic.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't. I know a lot of people say, oh, you couldn't get away with making this nowadays, but there's a reason for it. There's good reasons you couldn't do early South Park or things like that anymore. And the reason shows I know Always Sunny in Philadelphia have kind of changed their tone quite significantly over the years. And if you go down that route of ironically being racist or sexist or something, you will eventually end up with the people very unironically doing it.
Yeah, though I wonder if South Park was ever being ironic now, right?
Yeah, it definitely felt like it back in the day. There's another one
feel like it, but...
when I was listening to Marilyn Manson and watching South Park when I was 15, and then they were on Michael Moore. Because I remember Bowling for Columbine, it had Marilyn Manson and it had Stone Trey Parker. We all thought oh no, they do some fucked up stuff, but it's ultimately to parody the right. And it's and it did. I mean, I'm sure if I saw those really early episodes, it did genuinely feel that way.
And Bill Maher too. Like, I think that's when I became like, I was like, oh yeah, Bill Maher's so cool, because look, here he is standing up for like the goth kids after this Columbine shooting, saying that, you know what, you can't just like blame a look or kids that wear a lot of black or video games or have an easy solution to things like that. And I think that's the episode he had Marilyn Manson on too, on his politically incorrect show. And I just remember being like, wow, these guys are like a force for good.
Yeah.
And God, no, they fucking aren't.
No, they've really changed. And yeah,
have they changed, or do we just see them more clearly?
I think in Marilyn Manson's case, there was a time when he was doing this ironically. I can't pinpoint the exact point where he did change into actually being a terrible human being. Like it's not like with Kanye West when you can kind of like see the month it happened. But I think there was a time when all the people we've talked about, they were kind of on the side of good. But I think their problem was they kind of were on the side of good to the point that they kind of absorbed a few good ideas. Like, yeah, it's not good to stereotype goth kids as mass shooters.